Well, we have one more day of severe weather today, although not expected to be too impactful. And in the coming days, we're going to have a pattern change, but then we're going to go right back to severe weather for the Central U.S. Beginning in the middle of next week. All right. So today's forecast, we're going to discuss the severe weather today, the potential, where we think the most severe conditions are going to be, the future temperatures, future precipitation and drought outlooks for the southeast, as well as the severe potential in the central U.S. returning at the middle of the week. The pattern is just going to repeat itself, I think, as we get towards the middle of next week. So stick around for that. Utilize the timestamps in my video to get where you want to look at. As far as today's severe weather event, well, we still have a severe threat today, but not nearly as big of a threat as in the past several days. The highest threat is up here in the mid-Atlantic Northeast, in the Appalachians here. The slight risk, overall slight risk centered from Pikeville, let's see, West Virginia, Kentucky, all the way up until Rochester, New York, back towards central Ohio into central Pennsylvania and parts of West Virginia as well. Larger marginal risk surrounding it, and a marginal risk down here in Texas as well. So, what do we got for different parameters here? With this threat, there is a possibility of some tornadoes, although the risk is marginal. So 2% risk of tornadoes in this area. So not expecting any strong tornadoes today. We may have a few spin-ups, but nothing really significant today. Go towards wind here. We have this slight risk is really encompassing the wind threat, right? So we could have some 50-knot wind gusts as a line of storms moves through today. With more spatial coverage in that slight risk area and the marginal risk surrounding it, less spatial coverage for 50-knot wind gusts. Hail, we have a marginal hail risk, and the hail risk is what's driving the marginal risk down here in Texas. All right. So marginal hail risk means 1-inch hail in diameter possible in these areas, but not expecting, bigger hail than that, but you never know, right? So we'll keep that in mind. And you go into day 2, severe risk, nothing expected until, let's go back to day 2 here. General thunderstorms, right? So general thunderstorms in different areas, but no severe weather expected through the weekend after today. As our trough swings to the east today, we see the highest bulk shear values associated with that moving into our area of interest where the severe weather is expected today, right? You see where our severe weather is expected, right? In the right to the east of where this, well, eventually it's going to move through there, right? But ahead of that, we have that deep southerly flow and high shear values, okay? So that's overlaid on the severe threat today. All right, so there you go. Your trough swings through, lifts out really with severe threat moving out and away from the eastern U.S. Say goodbye to this trough. Thank goodness, finally gets out of our hair here. So one of the things that we look at for severe weather potential is surface-based CAPE values. Right, surface-based CAPE is a reflection of the energy at the lower levels of the atmosphere, and not that impressive up here, 200-300 joules per kilogram. So surface-based convection is going to really have trouble getting going here. All right, so the potential is, of course, a little bit further south, but less forcing will likely lead to maybe a hail threat here, right? So let's overlay that again. Your hail threat is further back to the west here, all right? So anyway, that's your surface-based CAPE values up to the north where your tornado threat might be, okay? So let's take the severe threat off. Surface-based CAPE, you see the highest values, right? So mixed layer CAPE shows total CAPE energy throughout the column of the atmosphere. Really not that impressive either. It really gets cut off as the cold front kind of just sweeps everything out of there, right? So now let's look at supercell composite values. Really, the highest values are down here in southern Texas. Okay, let's go back to the hail threat again here today. See where the highest hail value potential is. 5%, where your supercell composite is here as well. So that may be that parameter kind of shows where the doesn't kind of it shows where the supercells could form. All right, significant tornado. We're not expecting significant tornadoes, so this value really doesn't, with all the other parameters not showing much of surface-based convection, not likely to have strong tornadoes here. As far as helicity values at 1 kilometer and 3 kilometers here, we do have some pretty strong helicity values up to the north here, but just not a lot of instability, right? So, like I said, surface-based convection, excuse me, not likely to get going here. So, severe threat minimal today. All right. So let's move on to the convection here, where it's going to fire. Just got a lot of overall convection going on here. And let's focus on the northeast and mid-Atlantic real quickly into the afternoon hours. Some strong storms may be moving through the area, but not expecting much in the way of tornadic activity. Although, you never know, you could have a brief spin up here. Now we get further south, just a lot of convection in general. It shows some rotating cells down here into Mexico, right? But overall, not much going on today. I'm not that impressed by the severe parameters here at all, but maybe the SPC is seeing something that I'm not, but generally just thunderstorms, maybe some marginally severe hail and higher wind gusts, but keep in mind that I'm not the Storm Prediction Center, and I'm just giving you my opinion. You still need to make sure you heed watches and warnings, things like that, if the storms do overperform today. Now, going through a little bit further, that convection moves offshore, and that's it for that system. As far as excessive rainfall and flooding, we have a marginal risk up here in the northern mode of this area where we have the severe threat today, and in the southern part of this forecast area, right? And so the total precip amount generally run parts of southern Louisiana, right along the Gulf Coast, and southern Texas, and up into parts of central Pennsylvania and New York State, and the higher terrain of the West Virginia mountains. A couple inches of rain expected here. Excessive rainfall day 2. Real small risk down here in southern Texas. Heaviest rainfall you can see expected right offshore here. So we'll have to see how this plays out. It doesn't look like a major flooding event, maybe an inch or two of rainfall here. So we go to day 3, excessive rainfall, which will be Monday. We have this threat here right in southern Texas again, and the northwest coast of California here. Right, and the most QPF, which means the highest precip totals, of course, are in these areas. A couple inches of rainfall here, but nothing extreme expected. Now we go a little bit further out for excessive rainfall on the day 4. Parts of southern Texas again, and central California, and the mountainous terrain in the valleys here could get some heavy rainfall on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, on Tuesday. So moving into Wednesday, no excessive rainfall expected, at least right now. As far as the future pattern here, we look at the 500 millibar height anomalies. This gives us a good idea of the flow of the mid-levels of the atmosphere. All right, so this is into Tuesday, right? If we start off this, go back a little bit further, you can see our trough moving to the east on the eastern U.S. That brought us severe weather, and will bring severe weather today. Then that trough, this is the GFS and this is the EPS. GFS on the left, the EPS on the right. They're both ensembles, which give an average or mean of the 500 millibar mid-level height anomalies. So below normal is dark blue, above normal is orange here. So the general theme is a trough along the west coast starts to move to the east, and the European and GFS pretty much agree Wednesday, 2 a.m. on the pattern here with high pressure building in the Central U.S. here, okay? Now on the left with the GFS, that trough swings to the east Thursday, which is potentially going to bring severe weather again on Thursday to this area with a stronger mid-level 500 millibar low offshore here compared to the European, but generally the flow pattern looks similar, okay? GFS going into Friday, general troughiness in the western U.S. with high pressure just offshore here with another low pressure offshore here. And the European into Friday, let's just say 11 a.m. Let's go see if we can get to 11 a.m. here, 2 a.m. Saturday. All right, so pretty much agree on the features again with two distinct short wave. You got a short wave here, the trough hanging out to the west with both the European and GFS at this point, okay? Now we, on the left of the GFS, we move this forward till Sunday. High pressure, stable high pressure remains here down to the south with general troughiness along the eastern U.S. and the western U.S. with the European Sunday, 8 p.m. Some disagreement starts to emerge here with more of a high pressure here in the eastern U.S. with the European compared to the GFS. But generally, the trough remains out west here, okay? Now we move forward with the GFS a little bit more into the end of the month here. Once I swing that trough to the east, okay, European, moving towards Wednesday, generally agrees on the eventual pattern here. More of a zonal type, El Nino type flow pattern with a straight jet stream right off Pacific here, okay? So the general theme is it was a more flatter pattern with maybe a trough in the eastern U.S. We could bring some more unsettled weather to this area at the extended period. All right, but doesn't mean we're going to get rain in the southeast. We'll talk about that next. So here are the temperature anomalies from the National Blended Models. And this puts together all the models here and blends them out, the high, low temperatures and anomalies, right? And this is roughly this morning. You see to the west where this cold front is pushing to the east here, temperatures are way above average with the exception in Florida here. Zoom it out a little bit. Florida around normal or just slightly above. Most of the eastern U.S. above normal with the exception right along the Gulf Coast here. Still above normal, but not as much. You see where the sharp delineation here is temperatures, right? We go into Saturday, Sunday. Those above normal temps get pushed offshore here as that cold front pushes to the east, which would be a nice little reprieve here, right? You see out west, temperatures build in response as we have a trough in the east building in, right? So not unusual for that to happen. That's the 19th, 20th, Monday. Wow, going to be really hot out west here, 20, 30 degrees above normal. Now in the northeast, you're going to be 20 degrees below normal. And in the southern Texas, maybe because of some rainfall here, okay? Pretty much in the southeast will be near normal here Monday, and it'll stay that way. But then warm temps build back in the central U.S. as a trough builds in eastern U.S., the western U.S. here, warming up again east of the Rockies, okay? And we go through time with this. Colder air may filter down from the northwest here with warmer temps in the southeast. And we get a little bit more uncertain, but still above normal temperatures predicted here in the eastern U.S. Maybe cooling off here in the northern U.S. as we get towards the end of the period. All right, so temperatures, wild swings in temperatures over the next week or so to 10 days, but you get the idea. Warmer temps to start with in the southeast, cooling off pretty much for most of the U.S. and warming up in the west, and then the warm temps move to the east again as we get towards the end of the period. So what I've done here is I've taken the GFS ensemble and European ensemble, run it through the latest run times all the way to the end of both their model runs. This is generally towards the first part of May here, okay? Here's a total precip amount as forecast by these two models, all right? Move this down just a little bit so it makes more sense. Generally, the most rain is expected here in the deep south along the Gulf Coast and the Midwest here, and along the West Coast, maybe the Northeast. And the GFS ensemble agrees pretty much with this. In general, that's what both of them agree on. So, especially on the West Coast as well. So, what does that look like for the Southeast? Well, let's take a look a little bit closer here. This is total precip expected in the Southeast through the first week of May. So, I'm sorry to say that this is a paltry amount of precip in the next week and a half, but we'll take it, right? But in Florida, almost nothing, according to both of the models, right? You move to the west, you get more rain here than we probably want, okay? But to the east, we're still languishing in drought, I think, even toward as we get towards the end of this period. So, man, we really could use just a long duration rain event, you know what I mean? So, man, it's gonna be dry. Even, a couple inches of rain over this long of a period is not gonna put much of a dent in the drought. So, especially in Florida. So, anyway, that's what that looks like for the total precip, at least right now. So, this is an experimental tool that I've discovered that is a GFS ensemble that attempts to predict where the percentage of severe weather and when it's going to occur. So I'm starting this on Tuesday, right? So you can see it shows a 10 to 15, to about a little around a 10% chance of severe weather in the shaded areas, a little less um, in the yellow areas here. Okay, this is Tuesday to Wednesday. You see where the highest amounts are now. 30% chance all up along the east of the Rockies here, and that aligns pretty well with our severe threat that will be ramping up again next week, Wednesday into Thursday. You go Thursday, the threat moves further to the east, still showing a 30% chance here, a little further to the east and north, right? Go through Friday, that shifts further to the east. This isn't a forecast. This is a GFS. This is an experimental product, all right? So don't take this to the bank. But this is a pretty neat product, and I really like to look at it for the probabilities. So 15, 30% chance here. And then as we get towards next weekend, you see where the severe threat might line up right along the Gulf Coast with the higher probabilities here. Into Sunday, still these probabilities down here in southern Texas, along the Gulf Coast. Monday, the 27th. We're getting pretty far out now. We can see where the probabilities are highest. All right, all on the Gulf Coast here for severe weather. So that threat definitely shifts further east and south as we get towards the end of the period. Let's go through this real quick. You could see it progresses to the east and south, or maybe a boundary sets up here. All right, so we'll have to see how this plays out, but I wanted to show you this pretty neat tool, and I'll be using this in the future when we're looking at future severe weather probabilities.